You mentioned something important that many investors and homeowners don't want to admit to. The property market will drop at some point, and there will be some negative price growth, if you will. When do you foresee that happening? Let's sort of make a prediction that we can then go back to in a year, 2 years, or 3 years from now, depending on what you say. When do you think the market will slow? And rather than jumping straight to it, let's start with what do you think the next 12 months holds for us? But then also, when do you think it'll slow down and maybe have that negative price growth?
I think probably a pretty boring mainstream view, but the next 12 months would hold, I'd say at this stage, continued growth, but the rate of growth would be much smaller. So you might go from, 23% over 2021. And then next year that would look much lower, maybe 5 or 6% growth over 2022, just because affordability constraints are naturally starting to taper the cycle, and we're already seeing that in the growth rates. Ultimately, what's going to trigger the decline in prices is going to be a change in financial conditions. So whether it's an increase in the cash rate, which isn't expected until 23, 24, or APRA does intervene with another, maybe a limitation on those debt to income ratios of 6 or more. It's those kinds of factors that are going to change demand for credit, and any change in demand for credit has an impact on housing demand.
Okay, great answer. I share your views. It'll be interesting to see that. The one thing, or the one caveat in all that, is I'm particularly interested to just see what happens when the borders open up. That's the one big thing that could change everything, really.
Yeah, I think it's time. I have shied away, I think, from that research question, just because I'm like, what data do I look at? Where do I find that? Like, how do you even start tackling that question? But I think it's time.
Well, once you got the data, let us know. We'll have you back on the show in a heartbeat.
I'll have a crack. But yeah, who knows? When it came to the onset of COVID, there was a big fall in house prices of 10% peak to trough. That never happened. So I think if I've learned anything through this period, it's just that you cannot tell the future. Those are kind of the best mainstream guesses of what can happen to the housing market over the next few years, but we'll just have to wait and see ultimately.